Could this be it? The final episode of Lord of Chaos.
Hi there, and welcome to Fantasy for the Ages, the show where father and son sit down and talk about fantasy books. I'm the son of that equation, Zach.
And I'm the father, Jim. We do talk about other things, sci-fi, horror, nerdy stuff, but it's totally fantasy today. Yeah, as we got to try to finish Lord of Chaos. This is our third attempt to try to finish. There's so much to this book. It is one of the longer books of the Wheel of Time. It's also a delightful story to read. And we're going to see if we can get through the last 7 chapters and an epilogue today.
Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed, toes crossed, eyes crossed, whatever it takes. If you enjoy this, please hit the like button. And if you haven't subscribed yet, now is the time. If you're watching this Wheel of Time episode, come on, you must be a subscriber, right? But somehow stumbled here by accident. Go ahead, hit the button now. We appreciate it. So let's just dive right in. How's that sound, Zach?
You know, I'd say it sounds great if I can hear you. Sometimes I can. Sometimes I can't. So I just want to throw a quick disclaimer to everyone. If you hear weird noises from my side, hopefully we're avoiding that. My landlords are doing work next door. I can't hear half the time right now. It's very loud.
Zach lives in a duplex. Yeah, the neighbor moved out. The landlord is remodeling and making it much nicer than Zach's place. And decided to do more work Saturday morning that was supposed to be done yesterday. He's powering through. And yeah, once in a while we might hear a little buzzsaw or something, but it's faint, it's in the background. And we'll
Sounds like a really big buzzsaw.
All right, chapter 49, The Mirror of Mists. This is the chapter where Loial walks back into the story. Yeah, it shows up in Caemlyn, which is kind of a comedy of errors because
that's not where he's supposed to be.
His mother and elder Haman went to find him in the Two Rivers. Loial's not in the Two Rivers anymore. He's here, and Rand is glad to see him. Rand has a task for Loial.
Oh, great.
He's been pondering these way gates. Remind us what the problem of the way gates is these days, Zach.
The Shadow's using it. They're going through and just popping up in places. And half of these, like, people don't even know where they are. So just suddenly the Shadow spawn deep behind the enemy lines. And
there's a key thing to that, because Shadow spawn can't use traveling through gateways. It destroys Shadow spawn to try to use a gateway. So they can't get from A to B quickly, except using the way gates. Not gateways, way gates. That was a little confusing, Robert Jordan.
Yeah.
So if we can shut these suckers down somehow, it will severely limit the ability for, Trollocs to show up in your backyard randomly. So that's what he asked Loial to do. Will you help me find the way gates and set guards on them, allow me to make sure they're not being randomly used by the Shadow? And Loial's like, sure, of course, Rand.
That sounds like a good task to keep avoiding his responsibilities.
Oh, but she has such nice eyebrows. In the midst of this conversation, Min comes running in saying, Rand, there's 7 Aes Sedai on their way to see you now. Now remember, she's with the Aes Sedai, but she's really with Rand. She's really working for Rand. So yeah, she'd run to give him a heads up warning. He prepares his Aiel to be ready to not be surprised by Aes Sedai marching in. Because, Aiel can have a little hesitation about Aes Sedai. The Aes Sedai, they play into that. They show up using the Mirror of Mists. Now, we saw that.
Yeah, they do the thing that Moiraine did way back in Baerlon. Trying to be like,
a wall.
I'm big and massive and scary.
Right. But they're not playing with just some farm boy. Rand knows better than that. He channels at them, blows that illusion out of the water, slaps them down a bit, and says, yo.
You don't get to just bully your way into whatever you want.
Right.
That's my job.
what they felt they were doing here. They come in to put down Rand, put him in his place. He had applied restrictions on them. How dare he? So they're, gonna give him an adjustment, and he just
How
turns
dare
that right
the
around.
Aes Sedai be beholden to laws?
Yeah, they don't like answering to anyone, but Rand, you are gonna answer to me. So he doubles down on his restrictions on the Aes Sedai and Caemlyn and around him, and insists he gets the proper respect due the Dragon Reborn. And then you are dismissed. Ooh, they leave with their tails between their legs. That did not go the way they hoped. But Min is left feeling like Rand is missing something here. There's more going on to why the Aes Sedai decided to confront him. Now, we know why they decided to confront him, if you remember. One of the Aes Sedai was attacked by an Aiel in an alleyway and nearly killed. And they believe Rand is behind it. Rand's not behind that.
We also should specify by an Aiel. We don't think it was an Aiel.
There's some machinations going on there, but so it has the Aes Sedai feeling like they needed to check Rand and put him in his place. And this just doesn't make sense to Min. So she goes back to where the Aes Sedai are to try to talk to a warder that she'd befriended, see if she can get some information. Well, while she's out hunting for that information, more Aes Sedai show up. These are the ones that had gone off to the Aiel Waste when the Saladar sisters sent
their initial delegation thing.
Yeah, to try to go to Rand where he was in the Aiel Waste, except he'd left the Aiel Waste. They didn't know. So with them arriving now in Caemlyn, the total of sisters here is now 13. Doom, doom, doom. The magic number 13, where 13 sisters can totally overwhelm a male channeler. So she rushes back to Rand. She says, "We have a problem. There's 13 sisters here now." And she says she looked and she saw an aura about them that meant blood, death, and the one power. And remember, when Min sees an aura, that means
it'll happen.
She doesn't know exactly what's going to happen, but
blood, death, and the one power.
And it was related to these women and Rand all together. Rand knows to trust Min. So what do?
They leave.
Peace out. Gateway open. We're going to Cairhien. So Rand doesn't just go by himself. Of course, he takes Min. He takes Perrin, Faile, Loial, the Aiel. They all go to Cairhien. Loyal Aiel, yes. So now back there in Caemlyn, you have the Aes Sedai who are stuck here knowing something's gone wrong. Alana can sense Rand's gone.
He's suddenly so much further away.
Through that warder bond.
The one she forced on him.
And unlike where, a warder bond can kind of compel a warder to a small degree, she has no such a power over Rand. She can sense him, and that's where it ends. There's no power. Basically, Marana, who led that delegation to go put Rand in his place, blew it. Now with these Aes Sedai who have joined them, you've got Karuna Sedai, who is more powerful. We know how Aes Sedai work with levels of power. Karuna takes control of the delegation now. Both because Marana blew it and because she has precedence. And now they got to figure out what do we do, because we don't have Rand anymore. He's gone. Chapter 50, Thorns. We're in Cairhien now. What's been going on here? Well, Rand, reestablishing I'm here now, has more Aes Sedai to deal with.
But not the same ones as the other ones.
Right. The embassy from the White Tower had come to Cairhien, of course. And they're still here. They're wanting to negotiate with Rand. They request an audience, and he refuses. Nope, I don't want to talk to you. I mean, he just fled Caemlyn to get away from Aes Sedai. He doesn't want to talk to Aes Sedai here. So instead, something he does spend his time on, he's going to go visit Harad Fel. I like Harad Fel.
Harad Fel's a swell guy.
Smart guy.
Call him Harad Swell.
Harad Swell, nice. He brainiac. He's been doing research.
We love a nerd.
And Rand goes and tries to use his strengths and says, hey, I got a question. The seals on the Dark One's prison, can you tell me more? Because, of course, he's like, how will I know when it's time to break them? Do I have to worry about them suddenly breaking by themselves? You know, he needs information. So Fell's like, okay, I could do that. But he's having a lot of trouble having a good conversation with Rand because of Min. Why would Min be causing a problem for Harrod Fell?
Because she's attractive.
So hot. At least from Harrod Fell's perspective. He just
Harrod Fell spends a lot more time with books than he does people.
Yeah, and he loves his books, but Min is really a lot better looking than a book. He finds it very distracting to be in her presence. He does leave Rand a note, and this has foreshadowing with it. The note said, belief and order give strength. Have to clear rubble before you can build.
Which is like a nice thought and idea, but you know that that's going to end up being misconstrued and leading to some problems in the future. Like, we're too early in the series for it not to.
Right. Now that Min is in Cairhien, she starts spending time with the Aiel Wise Ones, getting to know them. Remember, they respect her quite a bit because they see her as one who can actually see the future. And that's an impressive power. They honor her for that. She makes some viewings of the Cairhien nobles. Looking around, she's able to predict many of them are going to die. She also views something interesting about Berelain. And this is major foreshadowing, people, that Berelain is going to fall head over heels for a man in white. Who could it be? Rand doesn't dress in white.
We won't find out for a while, probably.
Yeah.
But keep it in mind.
Yeah, it was called all the way back here. Speaking of Berelain,
yeah,
we got a little bit of a rivalry going on now between Berelain and Faile.
A little?
Over Perrin. Perrin is married to Faile. Berelain looks at Perrin still going, you know, if I could...
Berelain looks at Perrin and goes, it's just a ring. It's fine. We can work something out.
She's not intimidated by that at all. And in fact, she almost seems to see it as a game, especially because of how Perrin reacts. He's such a gentle soul. He doesn't want to just put her in her place. He just tries to laugh it off, play with it a little bit, demure. He's completely faithful to Faile, but Faile's just getting more and more jealous over how Berelain is acting around Perrin and irritated that Perrin isn't stopping it.
Well, and when we say that Perrin's not stopping it, it's not that Perrin's saying no.
He's not leading Berelain out.
He is. He's going no. But he's not going, no. He's not exploding at her. He's not making a big reaction. He's not grabbing her with the one power and making her terrified for her life.
Not that he could.
No. But it's like we've seen, at least as readers, people do sometimes react to Berelain and her advances that way. And while it's not a cool way to react to someone in any way, shape, or form, and it's an awful thing to do, it works.
Yeah.
This just in, don't respond with just abject aggression to someone. It's kind of mean. But if you are fearful for your circumstances, don't be afraid to do it, because it will work.
Yeah. And if you are married to Faile, sorry.
I don't think I agree with that statement necessarily.
Faile, though, she is not known for her brilliant communication. She would just be genuine in explaining what she's really thinking to Perrin. Everything could have gone a lot better.
And, you know, Perrin could be better at communicating as well. Maybe they should have just spent some time communicating with each other better before they got married instead of doing it because they thought they were going to die.
But this is the Wheel of Time. And if we communicated, we'd only have 7 books. So,
look, I love this series. Relationships are not usually the thing that is done super well.
And yet they're so entertaining. Frustrating, but entertaining. This chapter ends up with Rand, again, being badgered by Corran, the lead of the White Tower Embassy, requesting to speak with him. And she wears him down.
All right. Let's talk. Let's talk.
Now, partly how she wears him down is there has been some time. It's not like we jumped right from he just got here from Camelin. No, he's been in Cairhien for some time as this chapter started. So this has been going on for a while that she's been requesting the audience. And he decides I should give them the chance to talk again because he can feel that the group from Camelin is approaching. Okay, they've been journeying over to catch him now in Cairhien. How can he sense it? Well, he knows where Alanna is, and he's putting two and two together. Alanna would be with them, and he can feel she's drawing closer. So, okay, before I have all these Aes Sedai around here, let me listen to these again one more time. That's where the chapter stops. We move to chapter 51 called The Taking. Bad chapter.
Yeah,
very bad.
Bad. We have to remember and get reminded that there was a small amount of Aes Sedai from the White Tower in Cairhien that Rand knew about, but we also were aware that there were some other ones just kind of like sneaking in unannounced because it comes up.
Rand prepares. He makes formal preparation to receive the White Tower embassy. So here we've got Corin arriving, along with Katarine Alrudin, Galina Kazban, and a dozen serving women who come in carrying 2 brass-bound chests. Serving women.
Yeah, not so much.
Yeah, they're all disguised Aes Sedai. So he has 13 Aes Sedai in the room with him without a problem, and bam, a shield is slapped on Rand, and he's taken. Not only is he taken, one of those chests is what he's taken in.
Yeah,
because it was
he gets
empty when
shoved
they
in a box.
Yeah, he gets shoved in this little box, and they just walk right out, past all the Aiel. No one knows anything's going on, and these women around him are holding a shield on him, so it's an active thing. They get away with this, and this is brilliant. This is where we get to what was going on for days and days and days. Remember, Egwene had walked past where the Aes Sedai were and puzzled over why there was constant channeling. She could sense a low level of channeling going on in there. And we had learned that there were Aes Sedai in there just doing nuisance channeling. They were doing nothing that served any purpose.
Just channeling to build up that reputation of constantly doing a little bit of channeling.
So now with Rand in there and they're shielding him, it doesn't feel any different. Nothing has changed. It's just a low level of channeling going on and on. So they're stealing Rand right under the nose of everybody. Totally premeditated. This was a long-term plan. I sense that they never planned to just amiably have an arrangement with Rand.
Arguably, this was from the get-go the plan of this group.
Yeah. Now, he's not left in this chest. In this house that he's in, there's a cell he is put in. And 6 Aes Sedai sustain the shield on him at all times. He's, not just sitting there going, well, I guess I'm stuck. No, he's actively trying to figure out how to get away, how to break out. But there's not a way to get past the shield. He senses through what he's learned about the power. He senses corners, points of the shield, and they're soft. This is featured. They are soft, so he can't do anything to them. If they were to become hard,
then maybe he could start chiseling his way out.
Yes, and break his way through. How does a soft point versus a hard point happen? It's been explained. Do you remember?
Near as I can figure off the top of my head, it's the difference between being actively channeled and being tied off.
Yes. So while they are actively maintaining it, he can't do a thing. But if they just fix it in place and then leave it there while they go do other things, then he has a chance. But they're not taking that chance right now. So Rand is stuck, and all he can do is hope someone will notice he's missing. Maybe his Aiel, maybe Min, maybe the wise ones, but somebody will figure it out and will come after the Aes Sedai. Does that happen? No. Soralea is shown as the chapter's ending, passing by the Aes Sedai house. And as usual, noticing the channeling and going,
But the channeling.
it's
Weird.
just nothing's changed. One thing has changed, though. Sorlia notices Min is missing. Remember, Min's been spending a lot of time with the Wise Ones, but they can't find her now. And Sorlia starts like a little niggle that
Maybe
might
something
be wrong.
weird is going on.
Yeah. Chapter 52, we leave this whole thing. I was like, are you kidding me? We need to know what's going to happen here.
And now for something completely different.
Exactly. Weaves of the Power takes us to Abu Dar, where we've got Mat and some of his men hanging out, and Nynaeve and Elaine are in the Terrasen Palace with the Queen's permission, trying to search for the Bowl of the Wind. And Mat is there to get Elaine, of course, to Caemlyn. To do that, first, he has to help them accomplish what they're doing here, and he translates that as keeping them safe. They translate that as Mat being a nuisance. So they keep sneaking out of the palace without Mat or his men catching it.
Yeah.
However, in this chapter, they come to realize they're gone. So Mat and Nelisian set out to search for them. No, that's not what my notes say. Mat and Nelisian actually set out to search the Rahad for them. That's what's going on there.
Correct.
Now, the confluence here is that Elaine and Nynaeve are already in the Rahad searching. Mat thinks they're safe in the palace, and he's searching for them, but we're going to end up they're all there at the same time. Why are they in the Rahad? Well, that's where the Queen, based on what was described to her, thinks you might find this bowl.
Probably find the building with the stuff with the bowl that you're looking for.
And the Rahad is not a place to travel lightly. Why?
No, because it's kind of like not protected by the law at all.
Yeah. Police officer? We don't have those.
They just sectioned off a portion of the city and said, yeah, this area, this is the purge. Nothing is real that happens in here.
Right. It's not Elaine and Nynaeve by themselves, though. They do have Birgitte and Aviendha with them as well.
So, like, they've got some badass fighters.
Yeah. They have all disguised their ability to channel using that weave they learned from Moghedien. So they just look like normal women. I mean, of course, Birgitte can't channel, but Aviendha, Elaine, Nynaeve, they're hiding the fact that they're channelers. They're just women wandering Rahad, trying not to attract attention, especially attention of the Forsaken. One of the things that they notice as they're working their way through the Rahad is a knife duel.
Okay. Haha.
There are knife duels here in Abu Dar.
Yeah. They like their knives.
Yeah. It's more a common thing. Not that kind of podcast. And this knife duel that they see leaves one wounded on the ground, and they watch a young red-belted Domani woman step up and treat the wounded duelist, but not just with first aid.
Nope.
They actually see her use Saidar and capital H heal this wounded person. Now, not completely, just clearly used it on the down low to supplement the first aid that was being done.
And let's be very clear here. They realized real fast, that doesn't look like it's a Aes Sedai. There's something up.
She clearly knew what she was doing, though. It's like, hey, what's that about? So this woman, they catch her name as Azra, is clearly well respected. Something about the red belt. It's like a symbol, a uniform. I don't know. And so their impulse to get a hold of her and say, hey, what is going on? Is not something that they choose to do, because they sense here in the Rahad, where everyone's rough and tumble, but they parted ways and let her come forward and do her thing and stuff. Yeah, that might go badly if we try to grab her.
Yeah, it's like when the mob is like really devout Catholics and the priest comes walking through, you don't rough up the priest.
Right. But they're going to tuck that knowledge away because that's something they're going to need to do more about. Now we jump. We leave Abu Dar. We go to Saladar. A little scene with Egwene visiting Logain. Now remember,
Okay.
Logain is the recently re-empowered Logain, so he's shielded now. And the Aes Sedai have been trying to figure out, what do we do with Logain? Their instinct is to gentle him again, but they're pretty sure there's somebody who wouldn't care for that.
Yeah, Rand.
Rand declared an amnesty. Remember, anyone who can channel is welcome to come to him. But they don't really want to let Logain go either. It's been a bit of a problem. Egwene asks Logain, what do you think of Rand's amnesty? And, Logain isn't super open. He kind of dodges the answers a little bit. He's not super cooperative, but he's not all, oh, that's stupid either. It's kind of ambivalent. That conversation ends. Egwene moves along, goes to bed, enters Teleron Riyadh, where she has a meeting set up with Elaine and Nynaeve. Wants to know, give me an update. How are things going? Have you found what you're looking for? And the report is no.
Nope.
It's going poorly. We're not making any progress. It's huge, this place down here.
I enjoyed that there's a little piece of the conversation that Egwene's like, yeah, and what's Matt doing? Oh, you don't have Matt doing anything. Why don't you have Matt doing anything?
Exactly. Why are you being so stupid?
I sent him, use him. And it's very much like Egwene's not treating Matt with like respect per se. It's not like, yeah, he's a person with his own autonomy and that's great. It's more like, no, he has his uses, which is why I sent him partially with you. Use him.
Yeah. Take advantage of all available tools. When Egwene wakes up, she has a quick meet with Swan where we get the clearer picture of what they've decided to do with Logain.
Yes, Egwene has the realization that she should make use of all available tools.
Yeah.
And so, therefore, probably arrange for him to not be released.
Escape. I'm doing a lot of quotes today, but that's a lot of what's going on. There's a lot of stuff that is, people are not being genuine.
Meetings and a little bit of subterfuge.
Then to wrap up the chapter, we jump a little bit outside of camp to the Aes Sedai Morel, who's waiting with another Aes Sedai, Nassau, who's been studying sicknesses of the mind. And they're together here because Morel has been sensing someone is coming, and she's preparing for what she's going to need to do in the coming weeks. That person she senses is someone who's been missing for a couple of books, practically. No, was it just one book? It's just been most of this book he's been missing.
Just most of this book. It was End of Fires of Heaven. So, and
we're talking about Lan. Okay, at the end of Fires of Heaven, when Moraine ended up going through that door, ter'angreal, and was gone, Lan's bond passed to Morel. He had that whole argument with Moraine when she did this without his consent, saying, I don't want you throwing your life away when I'm not here anymore. So she prepared for this, and Lan had no choice. So he has traveled over land to come to Morel, and he's about to arrive.
Which, generally speaking, I would typically say he's making poor time. Like, we've seen people doing overland some of these distances.
Didn't take
they did it way faster than Lan did. Lan's excuse, I'm gonna give it here. I'm gonna give him one. He doesn't know where he's going. Lan's not going from point A to point B. Lan's following a feeling for direction.
A feeling, yeah.
And he basically has to go, which way is it pulling me? That way. And it's also then based on, where's Morel? Has she been right here in the spot this entire time? Maybe.
And at the same time, he's not particularly full of energy right now either.
He doesn't.
The dude is suffering
really want to go.
Power-based depression.
Kinda.
Yeah. But he's almost there. Okay, chapter 53. Oh, we should mention, by the way, they're outside of camp waiting for him because this is a no-no. The passing of the bond, the way Moiraine did it to Morel, is formally frowned upon by the Aes Sedai. So if the others find out there was an arrangement and Lan is going to be here now, she could be up on charges. She could have consequences. She's going to try to keep this on the down low.
Now, as far as I know, it's not like a stillable offense. It's not
No.
actually illegal by their standards, but it is frowned upon.
Yes.
As you said.
Chapter 53, The Feast of Lights. We're back in Cairhien. Perrin is moving along through the city. There's a lot going on because it is one of their big holidays, the Feast of Lights. I think we had the Feast of Lights back in Book 2, The Great Hunt.
That was what was going on during the parties
Fireworks
and
thing and the Trolloc puppets.
It might have been the Feast of Lights.
I think it was. I'd have to go back and look again. And those of you watching, you can double check and correct me.
And when it's not the Feast of Lights, you can tell us. It's okay.
Oh. In Perrin's POV, we're hearing that Rand and Min now have been missing, gone for 6 days. And I said missing, but that's really the wrong word because they don't think he's missing. They think they're just gone. Rand, for some reason, and Rand is the Dragon Reborn, he does not always disclose his decisions and his actions and choices. He and Min went somewhere and just didn't deign to tell people.
He built a bad habit of just traveling places without telling anyone except the people who are going with him. And so him disappearing for a time isn't actually that unusual.
Right. It irritates people, but it's been done before. In Perrin's case, though, he's got an itch. He's just feeling like Rand needs him.
Ta'Veren.
Exactly. So there's that. We get some things that have been going on amongst the various lords and ladies of Cairhien lately that is a little unusual. One, Lord Dobrain reports that Lord Merengill is dead. He was found dead, poisoned, and also High Lord Mylan was stabbed in the streets.
Oh, good.
The Lady Colivere, who is one of the more pretentious of the nobility, has had a number of guests joining her from the smaller noble houses, kind of building a base, forming alliances. It seems like she's getting ready to make a move on the Sun Throne. Now that's odd, because who's sitting on the Sun Throne?
Currently, Rand, kind of.
So kind of brazen that she'd be actively moving towards taking control. What does she know that they don't know?
Or she's got delusions.
As a group of them are discussing these matters, Berelain enters the room, and she's got in her hands Rand's sword belt with his dragon buckle. Basically, if Rand had gone somewhere, he'd have this with him.
And let's give credit to Berelain here, because why was she wherever Rand's sword belt was? I don't know. It may not have been great reasons, but like at the end of the day, whether it was genuine concern or ambition or something else, she finds out he's missing and nobody else did.
I give props to Berelain. She had been given a role of authority here in Cairhien, basically as his steward when he's away. So she's okay. He's not, we don't know where he is. She takes responsibility for figuring out what's going on. And so, yeah, he's gone. He's gone. And Sulin, okay, she's already been stewing that he left without
them. The thing that he said finally he wouldn't do after they beat it into him enough times, basically.
On this reveal, it hits her. He didn't do what he said he wouldn't do anymore. He's been taken somehow. This is not his choice. So now feeling bad turns into feeling furious. And let's go. She gets the troops, mustering them up. We've got to go get Rand wherever he is. And of course, who would have taken him? Their minds go right to the Aes Sedai. So they go to check on the Aes Sedai and they find the place is cleared out. The Aes Sedai are not there anymore.
Gasp.
Where would they have gone? Well, they're probably on their way back to the White Tower.
It's the most logical place for them probably to go, because if they got Rand in there, it's much harder to, one, deal with that many Aes Sedai, but two, Tar Valon is not easy to siege.
Yeah.
It's never been like actually fully successfully sieged and broken into.
Excellent point. So if they're going to rescue Rand, they have to catch the Aes Sedai who have him before they get back to Tar Valon. And they've got who knows how many days head start. He's been missing for 6 days. Did they leave instantly? Did they leave after a day or two? Did they just leave yesterday? Nobody knows. But
They
they're ahead
know
of
they can't be more than 6 days ahead. And they're pretty sure none of them know Rand's trick with the gateways.
right. But so what they're facing is Aes Sedai, a group of channelers who have Rand and probably Min, since she's been missing pretty much just as long, and armed soldiers with them. Remember the younglings, Gawain and the
Gawain and his
younglings who are with
younglings.
him. They're going to have to go and stop an armed force that has a whole bunch of women channelers who, when threatened, can use the power against you.
So yeah, Perrin's gonna have to go very like full Anakin Skywalker and kill all the younglings.
Oh, reference. Wow. Don't you dare compare good boy Perrin to Anakin
The chosen
Skywalker.
one?
That's
You're
an
right. That's more of a Rand
insult.
comparison.
Man. So, all right, the Aiel Ruark, you know, the lead general on Rand's side, he's like, we are ready. We are ready to go. But I should also report the Shido Aiel are on the move. So it's not just that we can go and take care of the Aes Sedai. We're going to have to worry about the Shido. They're out there. I'm not sure what they're up to. They might end up being involved in whatever we face.
Oh no, a confluence of enemies? It's almost as if the pattern is weaving something that it wills.
Soralia, she pipes up, hey, okay, don't get your panties in a bundle, people. We're ready. The wise ones, you know, we can channel. We're going to bring it.
Yeah, we will reveal it enough to the wider Aes Sedai. We'll throw some fire.
And the significance of that is they've kept that a secret. Very clearly, they've known it amongst themselves. The Aiel know about their wise ones, but they have not let it be common knowledge to the Aes Sedai. So to go up against the Aes Sedai, channeler against channeler, that's huge.
And we'll even go to the extent of the Aiel wise ones who can channel, like, that is something they do, something they use, and they have, in very Aiel ways, some decent, like, combative abilities, but they don't usually use it, like, against each other. It's not something that they use
taboo.
when Aiel fight all the time. They don't throw fireballs.
Right. So this goes very much against their training, their morals, their values.
But you know what? He brings change.
For Rand. Okay, so speaking of Rand, let's jump to him. Poor guy has been kept now in one of those chests.
It's a Rand in a
stuffed
box.
This is a huge man squeezed into a tiny box. Why is he being kept in there? Well, it's actually punishment. They didn't have him in there originally, but he killed 2 warders while trying to escape.
Turns out, even when he's like shielded, this man has trained with Lan and Ruark and a bunch of Aiel, and he just started being strong as a farmhand, and it's just continued.
Right.
He went, hey, I need to be a weapon just as much as the power is. And in the last few books, he's gotten more and more. The power is a great weapon.
These hands are registered.
He hasn't let his body get lax because of it.
Right. And if you remember, he was given crap by Bashir.
Like,
Bashir.
Why do you train so much with the sword? Why are you taking on 4 guys at once with the sword?
Can just use the power.
It's like, yeah, but maybe I can't.
This is why. Still, it doesn't do him any good. His punishment is A, spend his days stuffed in a box, and B, punished
occasionally
daily,
get taken out and
beaten. Yeah. While unable to fight back because he's, bound by weaves of air. Arian Sedai is the one whose warders were killed by Rand. She gets to lead the punishments. She's probably not very stable with her warders having been
Yeah.
killed. That is
Like,
not going well for Rand. He's
we're
being tortured.
starting and in a bad place of they've taken Rand. So if they wanted him to be on their side or agree with them ever, it already was a really bad place. It's getting worse.
Yes. She's daily beating him with the one power. And then he's never given time to heal. He's just shoved back in the box.
This confinement and abuse is problematic for
and
many
it's not
reasons.
Good physically, but it's also not good mentally.
No.
Rand is in a bad place.
But he's not alone, which is not necessarily a good thing.
Well, we'll get to that in just a moment. Absolutely. But before we talk about that, we want to talk about something that Rand gets to become aware of, and that's that he's not just dealing with the Aes Sedai. Some Aiel wise ones show up, and they talk to Galina Sedai, and Rand puts a connection together. These are Shaido. Oh, crap. There's something going on between these Aes Sedai and the Shaido, and the Shaido are no friends of Rand. Okay, this just got worse. That's what he's seeing. Now, in his head, you said he's not alone. What were you talking about? In his head, what's going on?
LTT's talking up a storm.
And actually being helpful.
Yeah, some of it's useful. It's like, hey, this is how you need to be banging on those shield walls. This is how you break out. Do this, do this, do this. Get out. It's bad.
Teaching Rand how he will be able to escape.
Turns out he didn't need a Forsaken instructor. He just needed to go a little crazy.
That's all. That's all. Can I say, hey, what are you talking about? He's just talking to himself. People do that all the time.
Sure.
So Galina, talking through the circumstances, she notes that all the wise ones that came to meet, except Savannah, could channel. She could sense this. Again, this is news to the Aes Sedai. Oh, the Aiel have channelers. So it gives her an idea. She has a plan. She wants to use those Shaido to get rid of that thorny problem of the younglings in Gawyn.
Because it turns out Gawyn's got some problems. He's got some abject hatred in his heart for Rand, but like he and the younglings aren't necessarily bad. They just chose some not great sides, and so if they knew all of exactly what was going on, they probably wouldn't be okay with it.
Right. We also learn in Galina's mind, her plan is not only to use the Shaido that way, but then to continue to torture Rand. See that he is just completely broken before she then presents him to Elaida. So she does plan to get him to the White Tower, but he will be a sniveling, worthless mess by that time.
Well, that's not good.
No, it is not. Now, Savannah, she wants Rand.
Yeah.
Yeah, she likes shiny things.
Yeah.
She likes her baubles. She also has come to really like power. So the idea of, okay, Rand al'Thor is right here. And if I just reach out and take him, I could marry him. He's the Karakarn. Even though the Shaido don't like him, that's still some power. There's that's a thing in the mind of the Aiel. And if she becomes the wife of the Karakarn himself, nobody will question her. She will have unlimited power amongst the Aiel. That's how she sees it.
Let's just take a moment to appreciate her A, delusions, B, the more matriarchal society of the Aiel that does believe she can take him and decide they're going to marry, and it will happen, whether he really wants it or not.
Now, there's a very troubling little scene at the end of this chapter that speaks to Savannah's power. Remember, Savannah's the one that can't channel of all the wise ones that are on the scene. She can't channel, and yet she is in command. So somehow she has a force of character, a force of presence, a charisma that in some way has everybody else doing what she wants. And she makes a decision here to wrap the rest of the Aiel wise ones into her control, into her power, to be hooked to her fate. And how she does it is have all the wise ones use the one power to destroy one of their own. It's horrific.
Bond them in atrocity.
Yes. And with that done, and they did it at her command, they are all now hers.
Honestly, Savannah's just Regina George, and she needs to get hit by a bus.
Let's move on to chapter 54, which is the sending. My background photo becomes relevant here. So Perrin and his army set out on the Tar Valon road to catch up with the Aes Sedai. And he reaches out for wolves. This is something he's been very hesitant to do.
Hasn't done a lot lately.
He's not comfortable with his connection with the wolves, but he needs them now. So he puts out a sending, basically saying the Aes Sedai have taken Rand. They've caged Shadowkiller, as the wolves see him. And as that message goes out, he hears in his mind wolves reacting, howling, saying to him, "We come." How many wolves? We don't know.
Unclear, but like they do like and respect, maybe even fear Shadowkiller a little bit. So like they're gonna help.
Yeah, that's bad that someone did that to Shadowkiller. We are coming. We will help. Okay.
They hate the shadow more than anything, and they can tell Shadowkiller is good at killing shadows.
They don't know how many Aes Sedai they're going to have to deal with when they catch up. Loyal.
At least 13.
Loyal is part of this group that's traveling with Perrin. Yeah, that's one of the things he shares. There's going to be at least 13 because it takes that many to overpower a male channeler. They clearly must have overpowered Rand, so at least 13. As Perrin's group travels, they are joined by the Two Rivers army, and they have 9 of the Saladar Aes Sedai with them and their warders. So, hey, we've got channelers now. Now, this
assuming you can trust the Saladar Aes Sedai, but you can at least trust them to not be working with the Tower Aes Sedai.
Rather helpful for Perrin here is with these Saladar sisters. There's not 13 of them. They're not going to make that mistake again.
No.
But again, I said there's 9. One of them is Alana Sedai, the one bonded to Rand. So she can sense where he is.
Yeah, which
yes,
is like, hey, that's not cool. Maybe we should talk about that later. But you can track him? Let's do it.
So there's a very funny moment. I mean, the players don't find it funny, but we readers do, where it's been revealed why Perrin is going the way he is. Rand's been taken, being held prisoner by Aes Sedai. We're going to go break him out. The Saladar sisters are like, "Oh yeah, that's bad. Well, we're going to go fix that. Perrin, you and your people can come with us." And Perrin's like, "Interesting. Well, I was just going to tell you that you can join my army." Who's in charge? We don't know. But the two groups are now moving together.
It is nice to see that his time back in the Two Rivers has really made Perrin more and more into a self-assured individual who can look at the Aes Sedai and be like, no, you're not in charge. At least not like fully. Yeah. I'm not fighting you and challenging you on this, but I'm also not listening to you.
Right. We get a time frame set for us as the chapter comes to a conclusion, because on the 10th day that they've been chasing after the Aes Sedai, Perrin gets a sending back from wolves saying they have found a large group of humans and he needs to come. Come now, come.
Okay.
Rand was missing for 6 days. When Barrowlane discovered he'd been taken, you can imagine they left, Perrin's group left pretty much immediately. So we're talking a 16-day span that Rand has, for most of it, been stuck in a box, taken out at least once a day to be tortured, and shoved back in the box. That's over 2 weeks, people. Not a good thing.
Not great.
Chapter 55. Frickin' Dumais Wells. Okay, frickin' is not part of the chapter name, but this is a
Sure it is.
famous chapter in Wheel of Time lore. It opens up, and you know it's a great chapter then. Devastatingly horrific, because it opens up in Gawain's point of view. Gawain is troubled, which is part of why Galena wants to get rid of him. He's troubled over what the Aes Sedai have been doing to Rand al'Thor.
Turns out he does know some of it, and he isn't comfy with it.
He promised Egwene not to raise a hand against al'Thor, and he has not. He's not part of the torture. He's not been hurting Rand, but he's also decided that doesn't mean I have to help him either. And yet, the thing that is weighing on him right now is Min.
Okay, turns out, yep, she got taken too.
Yep. And he's decided she's caught up in this. She shouldn't be. He's gonna rescue her. I'm not lifting a finger for Rand, but I will get her out. He has made that decision. But before he can act on it, one of his scouts comes into camp, severely injured, saying there are thousands of Aiel approaching. Dun, dun, dun. Now, Rand, again, he's been suffering torture. He's both physically and mentally suffering. And we go to his POV for a moment. And in his thoughts, we get him come to a conclusion here. And this has devastating consequences for the rest of the series.
This is a very unfortunate, like this series of 2 weeks is very unfortunate. Useful in some ways to some things, but like very unfortunate for this conclusion.
Yes. He will never trust Aes Sedai again. Now, he'd already actually been warned along these lines by Moiraine. Remember, Moiraine left him a note saying, trust no Aes Sedai. She said it to him.
It's not like he was super trusting Aes Sedai. He wasn't really, but he wanted to work with and give chances and these various things. He wanted to believe he could trust some, maybe, somewhere. And now he just kind of has to fully draw a line and be like, never.
His thoughts are disrupted by the wagon coming to a stop. Now, this is middle of the day. This is not when it ever stops. And he feels the chest being lifted off and put on the ground, and then nothing happens. Rand can't know what this means, but because nothing happens, no data is coming to him, his mind starts spinning up, and he's getting
psychologically torture him more.
Right, his anxiety is shooting up. We jump to Perrin. Perrin arrives where the wolves said to come, and he finds Shaido Aiel entirely surrounding a campsite, a base where the Aes Sedai are. This caravan of Aes Sedai that they've been chasing are already surrounded by Shaido. And there's a battle going on. What's happened? We're seeing the result of Savannah's greed. She decided to take Rand.
We're seeing a mixture of Galena's a little bit of plotting and manipulation to initially get rid of the younglings, then turned into Savannah's greed to just get rid of all of them. But also the personal greed to not call in Forsaken, because she had that whole thing with Samael.
Thought about asking Samael, hey, come help us out. Didn't do it.
So it turns out the trip to Tar Valon is long enough that people will betray each other.
So we've got younglings fighting Aiel. We've got Aes Sedai fighting wise ones. The powers flinging left and right. And Perrin and his group comes up on this going, where do we start? Where's Rand?
And that's the thing. You can't really just like sit back and be like, well, let them destroy each other and then get in there. Because somewhere in the middle of that is someone they need to get out in a way that is safe. And how they are right now, they can't keep themselves safe, probably.
Right. Now, I play it off a little lightly that Perrin's like, okay, what do we do? But really, he takes it much more seriously. He looks ahead at what's there. He looks at his people, and he's like, all right, we got to get in there. And a lot of you are going to die. He doesn't say that frankly, but that's what he's thinking. This is going to be bloody. Yep. But we got to do what we got to do. And he leads his soldiers right into the midst of this mess. And he calls on the wolves. There's like 1,000 wolves in the area.
There's
And
a
they
lot of wolves that showed
respond.
up.
They respond. So now, adding to this whole mess, you've got Perrin's group, and he's got, Aes Sedai with him too, who are now getting involved. It just chaos. And he's out there swinging away, killing people left and right. He is a massive man. He's got all of his soldiers with him. They're doing damage. Wolves are jumping out of everywhere and ripping out throats. And
we're at this point already seeing a moment that is going to be amazing to see brought to life on screen. The cinematics here, amazing. And we haven't even gotten to the best part.
Perrin hasn't even made it through the Aiel. He's still just working his way through the Shaido when he hears up ahead a boom. And then also sees black-coated men stepping out of gateways and taking out Aiel with both swords and power. Who the heck's that?
That's our Ashaman.
Enter the Ashaman of the Black Tower. Ooh. Okay, now we're going to jump. There's so much that happens so fast here. We jump to Rand. Okay, Rand is the boom. Because what happened is Rand is sitting there on the ground in the box, and he realizes he doesn't know what's going on out there, but he can sense some of the Aiel or some of the Aes Sedai who were holding his shield have tied it off.
Effectively, what we have to know, they tied it off because they had to deal with these other things going on. They had to go deal with that. So they were like, stay still.
So some of the soft points are hard points. Not all of them. There are still clearly some Aes Sedai maintaining the shield, but not as many as there were. So he works as LTT taught him, and he breaks through the shield. And he does it explosively. The shield breaks, the chest breaks. That's the boom. There were 3 Aes Sedai there. They are out on the ground, unconscious, maybe dead, probably stilled, because he just wham with power.
Yeah.
He sees Min on the ground, also apparently unconscious. Possibly result of his explosion. He doesn't know.
Hopefully not.
He can sense the power being used around him in battle in many ways.
Which we have to immediately go, he's sensing men channeling.
And he realizes, those are my Ashaman. Taim, and the Ashaman came. Whoa, how'd that happen? Rand then, being honestly the biggest, baddest channeler in town, does something here that has a devastating impact on the rest of what's going to happen. He shields the remaining Tower Aes Sedai, the ones that were around him, just shields them all and knocks them out. The Aes Sedai who had taken him captive are now out of the fight. Boom. Just like that. Gawain, seeing, oh, he's loose, and this is all a mess, rallies his troops to get out. We're going to leave. And they're almost taken out by the Ashaman, but they aren't. The Ashaman, Mazrim Taim, they instead focus on just protecting Rand. Okay. These guys want to leave. They're not a threat to Rand now. Okay. We're here for Rand. So Taim, he commands his Ashaman to make a dome of air around the wagons, the caravan, and creates a barrier that keeps out the rest of the fighting. So basically the Shaido who are out there, including the Shaido channelers, they're wise ones, they're outside the dome. We've
seen a nice little force field.
We've seen a dome like this before. Do you remember?
Yeah, my brain always says we saw it more as like a corridor than a dome, but it was kind of dome-ish. Because where my brain says was what Lanfear did.
Yes. I saw it as a dome. Remember, smoke was getting trapped in it and stuff. Corridor. Interesting.
My point being, I always thought of it as oblong, still dome shaped.
Okay.
But like a dome, I think of it as a circle or a half circle. And that one, it felt was more like a bread pan shape.
The vast majority of the combatants are outside the dome. So now we only have to deal with what's left inside and Rand will be safe for the moment. I picture this dome slamming down and slicing people in half. It doesn't say that in the book.
Especially just because they mention it as like things of air. It totally could be very Stephen King, dome comes down, things run into it, slice people in half, all that.
Exactly.
It also could be like shoving people out. It's from a central point thing. Doesn't specifically describe, but it does say that it is like noticeable and sudden.
So the few combatants that are still inside the dome, they're able to take care of very quickly. It's just a few. Perrin's army outside the dome, because remember, they hadn't made it through the Shido. Taim commands the Ashaman to finish off the bad guys. And this is a scene.
This is what we get to see what Rand was having them train for, really.
Right. Because this is what's lightly known as the meat grinder. And Ashaman kill is the command. And just explosively, every Shido within their reach, as the power just churns out for them, just self-explodes.
It's just waves of death.
Gore flying everywhere. There is nothing that can stop what they just did. What a weapon. And that's what's announced to the world at Dumai's Wells. The Ashaman, yeah, they can kill. And they are a force. So this battle's over very quickly at this point then. Because Rand is loose and his Aes Sedai will kill you. So stop it. Those who aren't dead of the Shido, flee. A lot are dead.
A lot are dead.
There's still a lot of Shido. There were a lot of Shidos.
There were a lot.
The final results then is the Saladar Aes Sedai. They come forward then as allies. They're saying, we were here to rescue you.
But Rand says he will never trust an Aes Sedai.
That's right. So he commands them to kneel and accept him as their liege, that he will rule. They will follow. I believe it's Taim who has the line, kneel or you will be knelt. There is no choice here. And they kneel.
And I always get the sense like Rand would usually be down for like, yeah, use the power, make them kneel, whatever. Taim's like, no, take them down, like take them off at the knees so that they are forever kneeling. They take off their legs.
End result here, though, is you have both White Tower Aes Sedai and Saladar Aes Sedai, who are no longer White Tower or Saladar Aes Sedai. They are now Dragon Reborn Aes Sedai. They're not working with Rand. They're working for Rand.
He makes them swear full-on oaths for it.
Which they cannot break. That leads us to the epilogue, which actually has a term, the answer. And we jump to Abu Dar, where Falyon Boda is plotting to deliver Elaine and Nynaeve to Moghedien.
Great.
So Falyon, she's a black sister. Okay, she's dark, evil. So she's right there in their midst, scheming on how to turn things negative for Elaine and Nynaeve. So as they're there in Abu Dar searching, they have bad people right there with. Harad Fel, we jump to, in his study in Cairhien, researching things Rand asked him for. And we get to see him ripped to shreds by a golem.
Uh-oh.
A golem squeezing under the door. Yeah, and totally destroying Harad Fel. We'll get back to that in the next book. In Saladar, we check in on Moghedien. She's just lying in her tent. Now remember, she's captive to Nynaeve and Elaine, but they're not even here now. But Siuan and Lyanna know as well. Egwene know as well. So she's still captive.
Maybe not as constantly interacted with or watched, but captive.
She's still wearing that collar. As long as she's wearing that collar, she can't get away.
Exactly.
Halima enters the tent. Now, Halima is Delana's aide, but we have already learned Delana's a Black sister, and Halima is clearly also very bad. We've already
In fact,
learned
we've already been told is a Forsaken in another face.
That's right. Halima identifies to Moghedien, I'm Arengar.
Moghedien knows who that is.
Yeah, and I know who you are.
Oh no.
Arengar channels Moghedien, realizing that's Saidin. You're not a woman. Arengar removes Moghedien's Adam and says, you have been summoned to Shio Ghul. Dun, dun, dun. So she's been broken free. Egwene feels Moghedien's pain through the Adam when it is broken and realizes there's a man channeling in the camp.
And she has to go, I just made plans for...
No, not made plans. Enacted plans.
For Logain to like be broken free. Did I just mess up?
Did Logain just free Moghedien? How did he even know? And then we jump to a place we hang out all the time in these books. The Pit of Doom. Way up there, top of the world, where Demandred is kneeling before the Great Lord. And Shaidar Haran is there. And Demandred says, have I not done well, Great Lord? And the Dark One's laughter fills Demandred's head. Fade to black. We don't get to know what that was about, other than Demandred has been up to something, and he's done well.
He probably did a good job letting the Lord of Chaos rule.
Could be. Could be. That is where we stop. We have finished Lord of Chaos.
We made it.
Woo, woo, woo. Oh, wow. So much changes here. Power shifts. The Dragon Reborn. He's going to be so much different in these next few books.
He starts getting darker here.
Yeah.
From this. And it's a valid reason.
He was psychologically tortured.
And physically.
Torture. And he's carrying the weight of what he has to do. And on top of it, he's been isolated.
Mm-hmm.
He can't trust anyone except maybe one person. The man in his head. I'm sure that's going to go well.
And let's just also go in. This book had a lot of like Asha'man, Mazrim Taim, how much can you trust him? Giving him some more power, but how much can you trust him? And this moment here kind of really cements the Asha'man's got your back, Rand.
Rand's got to feel like I did the right thing. That plan with the Black Tower and putting Taim in charge, it paid off.
So this moment really solidifies my Asha'man, good, my side, trust him. Aes Sedai, bad, evil, don't trust him. And the fact that it is pretty much black and white in his head now, that's got to have bad consequences somewhere down the line, right? Nothing's that black and white. Except for, the Black Tower and the White Tower.
The other thing that I would note here, too, is Perrin shows up, because he felt the need to be there to help. And yet, in the end, it wasn't Perrin that made the difference. I mean, he was part of it, but he wasn't the one that saved Rand. It is good for Rand to have Perrin with him, but because of how Rand actually was saved, he's not going to realize that to the degree he should. And that's going to have consequences. Yeah.
But we'll get into those consequences next time when we come back at some point with the next book. Or at least part of it.
The next book being?
After Lord of Chaos' Crown of Swords, right?
Right. So I'm sure we'll do the whole book in our next episode.
Wrong.
Here's the plan, people. Now, when we get together to do a Wheel of Time episode, we're going to do as much of the book as we have time for, and then we will stop. And then we'll do the next section as far as we can in a reasonable
as much of Crown of Swords at 90 minutes or less.
So we make no promises on how many episodes it'll take us, but it'll be fun. And it won't take as long as Lord of Chaos did because our format's different, but also it's a shorter book. Not short, but shorter book than Lord of Chaos. All right, let's wrap on this then, Zach. Thanks for joining me for this. It's always fun to be able to get together with you.
Yeah, it's a
father
good
and
time.
son. Yeah. Any last words for the peeps?
Don't lock people up in boxes. It's not kind. Don't beat people. It's abuse. Don't psychologically torture or manipulate people. It's rude.
And if you find yourself talking to yourself a lot,
It's
you
probably
might want
okay.
to talk to someone else about that.
Yeah, if you do need help with anything, seek professional help. Books don't count.
Thanks for watching, everyone. We'll talk to you next time.